Hi, I'm Louise Courtnell. I started my portrait project in 2003. I live near Corsand in Kingsand and I'm a figurative painter, and I wanted to try and get local people to sit for me. So I thought I'll do something relevant and try and paint a generation of people born between 1910 and 1944. My first model was Tony Jago, which is this painting here, and he was well known in the community. But you see, if you're not used to being a model, it's quite difficult to know how to do it. And they came to my studio on the cliffs at Pallone, where I live, and they had to commit about 20 hours just to keep still and be scrutinised by a strange woman. Some people weren't into the idea at all. They were a bit shy and everything. But once Tony started, other fishermen agreed to do the same thing, and I ended up having about 5 men a day come and visit me and model for me. I remember I had a coffee morning to raise money and raise awareness about the whole project, and I thought the locals would say, what skill and everything, and what a good likeness, but they said things like, hasn't he put on weight, and look at that flipping top she was wearing. But word got around, and I was given a list of about 70 names. About 50 people agreed to do it. And it just sort of grew from there, really. And I've had no funding. I funded it myself, but I've got to know the people really well and heard their stories. I mean, a lot of the people, actually 14 of them have died since I started the project, so the paintings are even more poignant. Let's see, Phyllis is my favourite painting. She sat for 46 hours for this painting, got very fed up with that pink jumper, hasn't worn it again since. But I really pushed it to really concentrate, because I don't use photographs at all. I was taught by Robert Lenkiewicz, and it's all about observing the event before you. So not using the camera, just trying to see the colours and the shapes. But hopefully something of the personality of the sitter comes out. And I think Phyllis looks really quite stoic and proud and tough. This chap here with the blue hat is called Mike Thomas. He was a fisherman, and he couldn't believe how long I spent on his jumper, actually. But if you're taught by Robert, you've got to know that each square inch is as important as the other square inch. So I had to pay as much attention to this subtle colouring here as to the nice juicy tones on his face. But as I say, you hear stories about people's lives. Mary over here, she's a very sensitive lady. She's passed away now. But she had a lot of mental health problems, and I think I've caught something, hopefully, maybe of her sort of fragility and sensitivity. She was a lovely, lovely lady. And some people were a bit too shy to look at me directly, so I might put a painting on the wall so they could look at the painting. And some people didn't talk at all. Some people couldn't stop talking. One lady, I had to say, Jean, can you just keep your mouth still for 2 minutes? And she just said, well, how rude. But they're very lovely people, the Cornish, I think, and they're very proud to be part of something that tells people of their village, because alongside each painting is a photograph of them as a young person or a child, and their childhood memories of war years and things like that. And one lady remembered seeing wounded soldiers from World War I come home, and said that they used to put straw down outside the house of the person who was dying as a mark of respect to muffle the sounds of the horses and carts. So she remembered that. She was born in 1912. This lady over here, Edna, is the oldest lady in the whole exhibition, born in 1910. That's her as a beautiful young woman underneath. She was a little bit peeved that I'd included her missing button in her cardigan, but I thought it was quite touching, actually. But I think you can tell that she was a lady happy in her skin. She had this lovely, just natural smile. But she said when she was at school, in the schoolhouse in Corsand, I think it was just girls in the school down there, the headmistress caught them in the toilets putting on lipstick, and said, girls, you should be grateful for the face that God give ye. I mean, they were quite poor, all these people. Some of them didn't really used to run around with no shoes in the summer, but the sea was their life, really. Didn't go on holidays very much, and I mean, when a lot of the men did apprenticeships after school, leaving school at about 14, I discovered. 5-year apprenticeships. This chap next to her, John, he specialised in making paddles 16 feet long and got paid 6 pence a foot for a paddle. I mean, that's 2.5, new pence. So I've learned a lot about boat building. I've learned that black American soldiers were stationed at Maker, just above Coal Sand and King Sand, and the white Americans used to tip the food meant for the black Americans on the side of the road, and the poor families used to go and help themselves with the food, things like that. I didn't even know black Americans came to Cornwall during the war, but they did a lot of road building and things like that. But a lot of these people have become friends. They've offered to sit for my painting class in the village. I've been teaching now since 1998, and they come and model for the class, and they're just lovely people, and I'm quite proud of my project. I mean, Robert, my teacher, he cast a long shadow. He was a prolific painter. He worked for 14 hours a day. Massive great paintings. My paintings aren't big, they're quite postage stamps compared to Robert's. But in a way, it's my little tiny project sort of paying homage to Robert. I mean, I'm dedicated the whole exhibition to Robert because I wouldn't have been a painter had I not known him. I didn't have a role model before knowing Robert that you could just paint seriously, not be an illustrator and paint what people want you to paint, but paint, what draws you. And he sort of gave me the tools with which to understand painting, and I'm passing it on to other young people I teach regularly, and it's just it gives meaning to my life, really. But portraiture isn't easy. Has to be a good teamwork between model and sitter, especially if you don't use photographs. But I think I'm quite a good colourist, and I think I can usually get a likeness, which is part of it. So I'm really chuffed, and it's great to show it in this wonderful gallery at Hannahs. I didn't even know about the exhibition until last February, and Robert had his show in here, which Annie Smith put on, of family portraits. Hadn't seen the gallery before, and I just love the atmosphere. It was very positive and creative. I think Robert would have loved the place, and so I'm dedicating it to him, and I think it's a wonderful chance just to show what I've been doing for the last 11 years. 48 Cornish people. So that's it, really.
Cool. And how long's the exhibition running for?
It's running for 1.5 months, from the 7th of February to the 15th of March. And I'm doing 2 demonstrations and talks, Friday the 13th of February to some A-level students, and 21st of February in the Great Hall at 2 o'clock I'm doing a portrait demonstration and talking about Robert's approach to painting. I'll be doing a black and white portrait of somebody, I don't quite know who yet. Men are easier than women, actually, because women are more under pressure to look good. Men don't care. When Pat Hocking came to model for me, he didn't even put his teeth in. He said, "Give us a kiss," sat down, and he said, "I'm not afraid of nothing, I loves everyone." So that's him as a very angelic and quiet boy, but he turned into this. But so I'll be talking about how to attempt painting from life, which is all about tone, actually. It's about the lights and the darks. If you understand tone, you can be a good abstract painter, landscape painter. But I think people really love seeing a demonstration, don't they? When Robert first painted me in the mirror, so I could see what he was painting, I was sitting beside him, looking at my reflected image. He had quite a large black cat. He works on black, and I always work on black because you can control your tones better. It was like a magic trick, I saw this brown splodge, and I thought, what's he doing? He must be having a bad day. No drawing, no sketching. I just saw my face emerge, and I just thought, I want to know how to do this. He's so clever and so quick. So, he taught me from 1988. I did a 2-year apprenticeship sort of thing, and I went to his studio. He set up still lifes. I did self-portraits, did the homework, worked hard, but learned a lot about painting, which isn't taught anymore because people don't have the knowledge anymore, so it's quite specific information. But he taught me that a painting has to be in tune, and that means you need to use clean colours, not dirty colours with black mixed in. So when I did my first study, he said, If I were to sing your painting, Louise, it would sound like this. God save our gracious Queen. When it should be God save our gracious Queen, which is very clear information. Dirty colours makes a painting not in tune. Brilliant teacher. So it's an understanding of tone, really. And you can apply it to anything, as I said. But portrait painting, an interesting point is you have to make it easy for yourself. So you block out daylight and you have lamps. So if you look at the models here with the pale backgrounds, they're all lit from the left. Can you see? So I have a lamp on the left. I mark on the floor where their chairs are. I have the lamp on the left to light them up. And they come back every week and the lamp is in the same place. You have to make it easy for yourself. If you use daylight, it could be sunny one day and cloudy the next day, so it's not a constant light. So for portraits and still lifes, I work inside, black out the daylight and have lamps. It's also very good to have a go at landscape where you're in control of nothing. And you have to pay attention to the wind, clouds and everything, work a lot quicker. But for portraits, I can do 1.5 hours per sitting, usually a gap of a week between each sitting for the paint to dry. It's quite rewarding, and they're very powerful things, I think, because they're life-size heads, most of them. Tony Jago has passed away now, and it's almost like having Tony in the room, looking at him. They're quite powerful things. And I think the most powerful and most moving paintings ever painted were by my hero, Rembrandt. He did a lot of self-portraits. I did a self-portrait down here.
Let's follow you.
It looks like I'm frowning, looking really angry, but it's a response to when Robert died. He died in 2002, and I wanted to try and do a self-portrait which reflected some of my emotion and anger, and I wanted quite dramatic light coming down. You might think it's a bit odd as a composition, but if you have a lot of space above something, it gives it more vulnerability. If I had the frame here, it wouldn't look so vulnerable, but I look a bit lost in the frame. That's how I was feeling at the time. Not easy. I mean, looking in the mirror, obviously, that's me back to front, as it would be if Rembrandt painted himself. He was back to front, so I'm in good company. I don't mind that. But yeah, I quite liked the play of light coming down here and across here. Robert used to say doing a self-portrait is the best test because you can keep still. You don't have to say left a bit, right a bit. You know, you can rely on yourself. You're cheap. You don't have to pay. But it's a good study in just the colour of skin and texture. I mean, Rembrandt must have done about 30 self-portraits. Robert did over 1,000, I would say. I mean, Robert was very, very prolific. But it's always a good exercise just as a study of a face. But you have to imagine you've never seen that image before. It's quite hard to do because, of course, you know what you look like. But there's quite a powerful one. I'm quite pleased with that one, actually. But I'm interested in the subtlety of colours of things. You know, sort of warm areas, cool areas. And I quite like a simple I don't like a lot of clutter in the background. I quite like a simple background. But you'll notice some of these paintings have a plain background. Some of them, like the one around here of Lil Cannon, she was very old. So I went to her house, and it has her wallpaper, her chair, even a picture of her son in the background. So that was quite nice to have him. She was a real character, Lil. She used to go on the local radio and complain about everything. But that's her as a sweet-looking young lassie. I think the most characterful one is the one next to her of Charlie. He liked to be called Morris Charles Davy. He was August, he was under the lamps, he was smothered in Vaseline because he said it was good for his skin, and he's shining under the lamp with his feathers, and he was singing to me. That's why his mouth's slightly open. He was singing to me, every little breeze seems to whisper. And then he did a bit of Al Johnson and said he was a bit of a prima donna. I didn't tell him it meant First Lady, no. But, you know, even though he was singing and talking, I could sort of switch off and do a good painting. sometimes if someone's too quiet, you get a bit kind of self-conscious, and that's him when he was a young man. I think it was the RAF, I can't remember, one of the services.
The Army, yeah.
Oh, the
Colchester,
Army.
yes. Brilliant. Well, everybody should come along and see your exhibition. I think it sounds fantastic.
And I'm flying the flag for Kingsand in Corsand because it's a beautiful place to visit. And this is actually Corsand in 1912. See how many children lived there then, and they were all watching a Punch and Judy show, and all the children had hats on. Now, when Edna was born in 1910, the oldest model, there were 400 local families living in Corsand, and now there are about 42, I think. 2/3 second homes now, which is the story everywhere. But they're very proud to be part of it, I think. So I've captured a slice of history, hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.